eager to put a lot of pressure on Eala, and that's the biggest challenge of the tour.
On a court a few hundred meters away, Eala is crying. Alexandra Eala from the Philippines has just landed a huge win, racket by her side, having just beaten top 10-player Aryna Sabalenka in straight sets. Court 1 at the Steffi Graf Stadium. The racket hangs loose in her left hand, like she's forgotten she's carrying it. Her right hand is over her mouth. Her eyes are wet. Across the net, Sabalenka, 20 career titles, former world number 3. A woman Eala watched on television as a child in Manila is walking toward the net to shake her hand. The scoreboard reads 6-3, 6-4. The stadium clock reads 1 hour, 23 minutes. And somewhere in the numbers behind the scoreboard, a different figure is quietly ticking over. This is Eala's 6th career top 10 win and her 2nd one inside 48 hours. She lowers her hand from her face. She says on live television that she's in shock. She is 21 years old, unseeded, playing on a wild card in a WTA 500 the week before Wimbledon. And Aryna Sabalenka, the world number 1, has already put her verdict on Eala into the public record, not as a reaction to this match, but as a standing position the tour had been reading for weeks. That verdict lives in a full-length ABS-CBN interview titled Born for Center Court, in which the reigning number 1 speaks about the young Filipina in the register of anticipation, not tolerance. That interview is the frame around today's story, because what happened in Berlin between June 18th and June 20th, 2026, is the moment Sabalenka's private forecast became the tour's public accounting. Eala walked into Berlin ranked outside the top 30, unseeded, with 1 career top 10 win on grass. She walked out with a career-high ranking, a Wimbledon seeding, and 2 top 10 scalps in 2 nights. The ranking sheet updated. That's the story. For most of the season, the operating assumption inside the WTA had been reasonable and cautious. Alex Eala was a talented young player still translating juniors into seniors. She had a signature run, Miami 2025, for wins over top 30 players along the way. But the tour's memory of that week was written in a specific handwriting: outlier. Hard court, fast conditions, home crowd energy from a diaspora that filled the stands. A talented player who caught fire once. Coming into Berlin, she had beaten exactly 1 top 10 player on any surface other than that Miami hard court and never won on grass. Her lifetime record against Czech players, a specific, unglamorous data point that matters later, sat at 1 win against 13 losses. On paper, she was a player the top of the tour was watching, not planning around. Then Berlin happened. Not 1 shock, but 2. Not on her strongest surface, but on grass. Not against a fading name, but against the number 2 seed one night and the number 6 seed the next. And the question stopped being whether Miami was real. The question became whether Miami was the ceiling or the floor. Start with the score, because the score is the smallest true thing here. Eala beat Sabalenka 6-3, 6-4 in the Berlin quarterfinal on June 19th, running into the early hours of June 20th Manila time. 1 hour and 23 minutes, straight sets. Their first ever meeting. Sabalenka came in with a strong record for the season, ranked number 8 in the world, seeded number 6 in Berlin, a former world number 3 with a 2018 WTA Finals title on her resume. This wasn't a lucky draw or a walkover into a depleted quarter. This was a top 10 player in form, on a surface that historically rewards experience, and Eala closed it out from 5-4 in the second set, a stretch Tracy Austin would later call the tightest window of the match. The scoreline undersells it, but only because 24 hours earlier, Eala had already done something even harder. In the round of 16, she'd beaten the number 2 seed, Elena Rybakina, 7-5, 6-4. Rybakina, the 2022 Wimbledon champion, one of the 3 or 4 cleanest ball strikers in the women's game, a player whose serve on grass is a genuine tour-level weapon. Eala took her out in straight sets, on Rybakina's best surface. That's not a moment. 2 of those in 48 hours is a pattern. And here's the number that carries the real weight. Berlin was Eala's 6th career top 10 win. But more importantly, It was the second time in her career she had strung two of them together back-to-back. The first time was Miami 2025. That's the last time we'll mention Miami in the script, because the point isn't to relitigate it. The point is that 15 months later, she did it again on a completely different surface, against completely different opposition, in a completely different draw. One instance is an outlier. Two instances on two surfaces against four different top 10 opponents is the beginning of a shape. Take a breath here, because the numbers behind how she won are as interesting as the fact that she won. Svitolina hit 4 aces in that quarterfinal. Eala hit 1. Svitolina is statistically the more powerful server, and on a grass court, that should matter. What actually decided the match was on the other side of the ball. Per match reporting and broadcast analytics from the tournament coverage, Svitolina made 23 unforced errors to Eala's 9. Eala won 13 of 22 serve return points and 21 of 42 second serve return points against a former world number 3 on grass. Her own first serve percentage sat at 69%, high enough to keep Svitolina from ever settling into a rhythm on second ball attacks. In plain English, Eala did not out-hit Svitolina in Berlin. She out-returned her. She out-read her. She played the point one shot longer than Svitolina wanted to play it. That matters, because the narrative that's been building around Eala for 2 years is that she's a power hitter, a lefty who cracks the ball and wins on speed. Berlin argues the opposite. Berlin argues her game translates because there's a second layer underneath the first one. That second layer is what the authorities in the sport picked up on immediately, and it's why the verdict started stacking up before the towel had even dried on her shoulder. Tracy Austin has been inside women's tennis for 50 years. Two-time U.S. Open champion, former world number 1, International Tennis Hall of Fame, class of 1992. When she calls a match for broadcast, she isn't there to hype young players. She's there to read what she sees. On the Berlin broadcast, immediately after the Svitolina match, she reportedly said something to the effect of, "Eala has been so sturdy mentally. What an impressive last game. Down love, 30, and somehow she found a way. Served well. Used just enough variation with her serve and her spins to make Svitolina uncomfortable." Svitolina finished with 23 unforced errors, against a tidy 9 for Eala. The two words in that assessment that matter most are sturdy and variation. Not power, not upside, not potential. Sturdy, a word you use about players who are already built. Variation, a word you use about players who understand the sport, not just play it. Further up the food chain, the world number 1 has been on record about Alex for months. Aryna Sabalenka's interview with ABS-CBN, titled Born for Center Court, isn't a response to the Svitolina match. It's her standing public position, the reigning number 1 speaking about a player ranked in the 30s as someone the sport should expect to see on its biggest stages. That's the layer of validation this whole story is pointing at. Sabalenka isn't going off in the moment. She's on record, ahead of time, and now the ranking sheet reflects what those voices had already been saying. The Berlin semi-final finish, even in defeat, pushed Eala to a career high around number 30 in the world, up from around number 35 the week before, and roughly number 49 at the start of the year, according to week-by-week tracking. She entered Wimbledon 2026 as the number 29 seed. That's not a footnote. That's her first Grand Slam as a seeded player, meaning she's now on the side of the draw that unseeded players are trying to survive their way toward. The gravity has reversed. Then, on July 2nd, 2026, she beat Maya Joint in the second round at Wimbledon to reach the third round of a Grand Slam for the first time, the first Filipina in history to do so at any major, confirmed by Wimbledon's own official channels. The Philippines had never had a player seeded at a major. This week, they've won their way into the third round. Zoom out for a moment, because the shape of this matters beyond one player. The WTA is in the middle of a deliberate expansion of its Asia-Pacific footprint. The WTA finals rotating through new host cities, the Guadalajara event elevated, the calendar itself tilting eastward in ways it didn't a decade ago. Into that geography, Alex Eala walks as the first Filipina seeded at a Grand Slam. That's a country-level fact. But there's a sport-level fact underneath it too. Top 10 wins on multiple surfaces separate the players who catch fire from the players who stay lit. Eala has now recorded top 10 wins on hard court in Miami and on grass in Berlin, against different top 10 opponents in the same week. She hasn't yet done it on clay. That's a data-honest gap, not a criticism. but the surface breadth is real, and it's the thing scouts and tour directors track more carefully than headline scalps, because it's what predicts whether a player is a matchup problem or a season-long problem. The room she's walked into this week, the seating line at Wimbledon numbers 1 through 32, is a specific room. Sabalenka is in it. Rybakina is in it. Pegula is in it. Svitolina is in it. And Eala, at number 29, is now in it too. Not as a wild card invited to the edge of the photograph, but as a seated name on the order of play. Because that room is real. Its ceiling is also real. And the same week that showed Eala's ceiling also showed where it currently stops. 24 hours after beating Svitolina, Eala played Linda Noskova in the Berlin semi-final and lost 2-6, 4-6. Noskova, a Czech player ranked number 13 in the world. Coming into that match, Eala's lifetime record against Czech players stood at 1 win and 12 losses, including a specific, painful memory of losing to Noskova herself, 6-2, 6-0, at Indian Wells earlier in 2026. Ahead of the match, Eala reportedly said something like, "She's a big hitter. She's young, but she has a lot of experience. Our last match proved very difficult for me, so I hope to prepare, make some improvements, and show what I've got." She prepared. She showed what she had. She still lost in straight sets. That's what a turning point actually looks like up close. A peak and a ceiling in the same week, both true, neither one canceling the other. 10 days later, she opened Wimbledon with a straight sets win, then reached the third round. The floor kept moving up while the ceiling stayed where it was. Both facts belong on the ledger. So the verdict here isn't she's arrived. It isn't she's the next anyone. The verdict is that the ledger has been updated, in ink, by the Tour Zone accounting. 6 career top, 10 wins, 2 of them back-to-back in 48 hours on grass. A career high around world number 30. Seeded 29th at Wimbledon. The first Filipina to reach a Grand Slam third round. A Hall of Famer using the word sturdy. The reigning world number 1 on record calling her a center court player before this match was even played. Go back to court 1 at the Steffi Graf Stadion. The racket by her side. The hand over her mouth. The tears. Put the ledger underneath that image, and it stops looking like shock at an accident. It starts looking like the recognition of a threshold crossed. The child in the manila stands watching Svitolina on TV, and the woman on the microphone saying, "I've been watching her since I was a kid, so to be able to compete with her today is such an honor." That child and the seeded name on this week's Wimbledon order of play are the same person, standing on the same kind of court, 30 minutes apart. She hit 1 ace in that match. Svitolina hit 4. It didn't matter. She doesn't need to be the biggest hitter in the room to belong in the room. She's in the room. Sabalenka, Rybakina, Pegula, Svitolina. Their names are on the same page as hers now. Not as posters on a wall, but as opponents whose scorelines she has authored or contested. Wimbledon's third round is live this week. If you want to watch what the next chapter of this ledger looks like as it's being written, subscribe and turn on notifications. The room she's in now is the one that gets televised. Tennis Unfiltered.